Hey, what's going on guys? FPL Yusuf here and welcome back to another video on my YouTube channel. Today I've got a different type of video. I'm going to be going into the upcoming fixture swings. Now, as we approach game week 10's deadline, a lot of teams are going to start moving fixtures for game week 10, 11, 12. So we're going to start to see teams come into a good run of fixtures, but also we're going to see some teams maybe fall out of favor and fall out of form with the fixtures as well. So today it's just a bit of an in-depth look about certain teams to target, but also some players that we maybe should be looking to get rid of for the next few weeks. So without further ado, let's get into the video. Okay, welcome back guys. Thank you so much for being here today with me for another video on my YouTube channel. Before we get into this one, if you wouldn't mind dropping a thumbs up and subscribing down below, it would be greatly appreciated. So yeah, like I said in the intro, this video is going to be a little bit of a different one today, and I'm going to be looking ahead for the next sort of 3 or 4 game weeks at teams who are coming into a good run of fixtures, but also players who maybe it's time to get rid of, as they start to go into a little bit more of a tricky situation with their fixtures. So we're going to start off with Wolves first. For me, they have got the best fixtures in the next sort of 7-8 weeks. So this is a little bit longer period than what the video is actually looking at. But Wolves from game week 10, they're the team that you want to be targeting. And there's 2 players in particular that I'm looking at. Defensively for them, I'm not really paying too much attention. I know a lot of people are going to be talking about Ray and Nori, which, look, if you're looking for a cheaper defender, you're maybe looking to drop down Gabriel or drop down, Trent or someone like that, then 100% just to free up the money, then I don't mind it. But in terms of them keeping clean sheets, I don't really expect that many. Wolves defensively aren't that great. It's more the attack that I want to sort of focus on and look into. So first up, we're going to start off with Matheus Cunha. Did get a goal on the weekend in Wolves' big turnaround against Brighton. Managed to get his goal very late on, but also managed to pick up all 3 bonus points. And that's the first thing that I want to talk about him, is he is a bit of a bonus points magnet. Usually when he scores, he's always in line for those 3 bonus points. So what a 6-goal striker usually gets, he turns into a 9 with that. And bear in mind, Wolves scored very late on in the game as well. So at that point, he wasn't nowhere near the bonus points, and that 1 goal catapulted him above everyone. So for me, he's a little bit more expensive out of the 2 options that you see on screen. He's 6.5 million, but I do think it is worth paying the extra mil for him. He's probably on penalties. We haven't seen Wolves have a penalty this season, but I don't think so, at least at the top of my head. But from last season, he was their main man taking penalties. Hwang doesn't seem to be anywhere near this team at the moment. Pablo Sarabia as well. So it's kind of like Cunha is their main man up front. He's a very big differential as well. He's only owned by 2.9% of the game. He's averaging about sort of 0.5x expected goal involvement. So he's averaging basically a return every 2 games, which I think for the price you're paying for him isn't too bad. And I'm going to come on to later about cheap forwards. I've done a top 5 list of my favorite forwards who are 6.5 and under. But there's a lot of talk around, is there possibility of going with 3 of them up front instead of Erling Haaland? I'm going to get onto that later in the video as well. But yeah, for me, Wolves' main man is Matheus Cunha. There is another option in Strand Larsen, who's currently 5.5 million. So he's $1 million cheaper. Now, if you're somebody who, is maybe really tight on budget and, you're restricted to being able to make transfers and, that million could go a long way for you, then I don't mind the pick. Obviously, if you could afford both of them, I would obviously, naturally just draw towards more Cunha because of the penalties, because he is their main man. I think he is better for minutes as well. However, Strand Larsen hasn't been that bad this season. He's a big differential as well. He's only owned by 1.6% of the game. He's averaging nearly 4 points a game, which I think for the price you're paying for him, it's not too bad. But like I said, I think if there was one of them that you could get to and you had the extra money, I would definitely just go towards Matheus Cunha, making that extra money just spread. I think over the long run, especially over the next sort of 7-8 weeks of fixtures, you'll get more returns from him than you will Strand Larsen. Okay, so next up is Chelsea, and I'm looking at these guys, bringing them in from about game week 12. Now, if you have got luxury transfers, or you've got a couple of transfers saved up and you don't really know what to do with it, I don't mind moving them early. It's Newcastle, which is obviously this week. At the time of recording, it's currently Sunday morning, so they haven't played yet, but it's Man United in game week 10, so it's not bad fixtures. Obviously, Arsenal game week 11 isn't great, but if you did want to move early, you had a couple of free transfers, I don't mind it. So Cole Palmer is obviously going to be the main one, currently owned by over half the game. 54.5% is a big ownership, and he does come with a big price tag. He's at the time of recording, he's 10.9 million, nearly into that 11 million bracket, so he is expensive. However, there are very few players that I look in FPL and I will say are fixture proof, and I don't really like using the word because anyone can blank against anyone can score against anyone. However, Cole Palmer, if Chelsea are going to score, I would say 90% of the time he's involved in it, whether he's scoring the goal himself or he's making the assist. He's on every set piece, corners. He's obviously got his record from penalties is just outstanding. So he offers a lot of upside. I know he is expensive, but the upside you get with him is really big. Plus, he has a tendency to haul as well. Usually when he scores, he usually ends up again in bonus points, but also into the double-digit mark. And obviously, when you're paying for an asset of that price, that is what you want from them. You want them to be able to haul, and you want them to be able to come into the double digits. So yeah, for me, Cole Palmer would be the main choice from Chelsea. Obviously, I know not everyone has the budget for it, so I have got an alternative option, as you can see on screen, which is Nicholas Jackson. So he's currently coming in at 7.9 million. So obviously a lot less cheaper than Cole Palmer. And I think the first thing to state on this is, don't look at Jackson as someone who can cover Palmer, because they are two completely separate players. They're priced it that way for a reason, because Palmer's outlet is better. You know, obviously, like I said, he's got set pieces, he's got penalties, so he's got more routes to points than Jackson. However, I do think Nicholas Jackson's been very under the radar. You know, his expected goal involvement is actually really good. It's 0.80, you know, which is roughly the same as what Cole Palmer is for a fraction of the price. He's obviously way less owned as well, you know, currently down in the 16%. I think the hardest thing with Jackson is the striker spot, because the likes of Chris Wood, you know, Cunha's coming into it, Welbeck, Raul Jimenez, you know, a lot of them have been performing to the same standard, but for a lot cheaper. So, which is why I think Nicholas Jackson has maybe been overlooked a little bit. However, from game week 12, like I said, Chelsea come into a very good fixture on, and even if you want to double up on it, I don't actually hate the idea, because I think Chelsea will score goals defensively. Again, there's always that thing with them where they are susceptible to conceding, but with these two, you're not even worried about that. Obviously, Palmer would get the extra point for the clean sheet, which is lovely. But long term, I think definitely there is an option, definitely for one of them. But if not one, there is an argument to be made to double up on both of them. Okay, so on to the third and final team, which I'm looking at. And this one, for me, is the most exciting. It is Brentford. Now, it is worth me saying that these guys are a short-term hold. I think you'll probably get about 4, maybe 5 game weeks from them. I'm looking from game week 10 to about 14, 15 with their fixtures. But I do think that in that short time, these two you can see on the screen, Vissa and Burmo, definitely could explode. So we'll start off with Brian Burmo first, as he's the most expensive. At the time of me recording, he is actually 7.7 million. So he's actually not too badly priced. I think that should be quite affordable for a lot of people. You know, you may still have, you know, Luis Diaz, if you've got, you know, Diogo Jota. These are the type of players who are around this price point. So not a hard thing to switch to him. He obviously is on penalties. You know, he's come off the back of a brace yesterday against Ipswich, which, you know, the second goal may be a little bit fortunate, but, you know, this is what I'm saying. You know, he comes away with a 15-point haul at 7.7 million. You're looking at him and thinking he just genuinely is, you know, up there with Haaland, probably the best asset in the game in terms of price-wise for what they offer you. And I do think, you know, Burmo is guaranteed 90 minutes. Like I said, if Brentford do get a penalty, he will be taking it, and he has got a very good record from there. So I really like Brian Burmo. I think if you don't have him, definitely jump onto him. I don't think you've missed the boat. Like I said, I think there's still a good 3-4 game weeks, maybe even 5 game weeks at a push, that you could get serious points out of them. So yeah, if you haven't gotten Burmo, don't worry too much. I know a lot of people would probably be disheartened by the fact that they've missed a haul, but don't let that put you off, because he may well end up getting another 2 or 3 of them before his good fixture run ends. The other player that I'm looking at is Johan Vissa. I did speak about him last week in my transfer target video, and he was someone that I was going to bring in for Calvert-Lewin. I didn't. I really regret it, and I wish I had, because he comes away with a goal and assist on his return. He's only 5.9 million. I think at the price you've got for him there, with the fixtures they've got coming up, he just is a no-brainer for me. I look at him and think to myself, if I'm looking to free up money, especially in the forward line, him for the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks is a little punt, just a short-term hold with the view that, okay, long-term you're going to have to replace him. But he's in great form, and, you know, he plays better when Mbeumo's there. When them two are together, usually 95% of the time when Brentford score, is one of them doing the score and the other one's assisting. So for me, I definitely think that there is a big possibility of a double up from Brentford. It's probably going to be my change that I make this week, which I will talk about in my transfer targets video on Tuesday. But yeah, for me, Johan Vissa, for the price you're paying for him, just offers so much upside. And Brentford are free scoring at the moment. They aren't keeping clean sheets, and I did speak about this a few weeks ago, when a lot of people, I know, were going for like the likes of Pinnock, Flecken, Vanderberg, but I don't think you can rely on them keeping clean sheets. However, what you can rely on them for is scoring goals, and that's all that matters for these two. So yeah, I think definitely you want to own one of them, probably Brian Burmo, but if you can get to both of them, I don't mind it for the next sort of 4 or 5 weeks at least anyway. Right, now the big one. Is it time to sell Erling Haaland? Come off the back of only 1 goal against Southampton. I think a lot of people will be disappointed, myself included. I did have him triple captain this week. Didn't work out. Probably should have had maybe 2 or 3. It's 1 goal in 4 games. And I think the point that I'm at is it's worrying me a little bit, because I think City were very creative against Southampton, and I think Foden was a big part of that. But that is Southampton. No disrespect to any Southampton fans out there. I think the games that they've got coming up, Brighton, Aston Villa, Nottingham Forest, I think those games will be a lot harder for them. I don't know if they will get the same amount of chances. Now, Haaland can score against anyone. He can score 2, 3, 4 against absolutely anyone. That's no that's not even the thing for me. My problem I'm looking at Haaland with is the price you're paying for him. And I think at 15.4 million, with the way the cheaper strikers have been returning, a goal is not enough. You need him to be scoring a brace, a hat trick every game, you know, and he was doing it at the start of the season. He had 2 hat tricks and a brace all in a row. You know, we were all raving about him. He's the guy, but it's currently 1 in 4 for Haaland. And I just think with the price that he's at, with the fixtures they've got coming up, you know, Brighton will be a tough game, Villa will be a tough game, Liverpool will certainly be a tough game. Forest defensively are very, very good. So I think if there's a time to go without Haaland, it's probably now. I think obviously the big thing you're thinking about is most of us would have owned him since the start of the season, so we've got money tied up into him. So if you get rid of him, you're going to have to find the money to then bring him back. So that's the first problem. The second thing is, like I said, Haaland has got that explosive capability against anybody. And I think if you are going to go with him, in my opinion, this is just briefly looking at the fixtures, I think it's hard. It's a long-term hold without him. And I'm talking about game week 17, 18. So you're going to miss him for about 7, 8 weeks. So if you're a manager who, you know, you're going to be behind the sofa every time Man City are playing, I wouldn't advise getting rid of him. I'd say just keep him. You know, like I said, he can score any fixture. If you are somebody who, you know, you can take a step back and say, all right, do you know what? If he scores in this game, it's what it is, but it's kind of what the other pieces are doing around that you've used that money for, then I'd say it's probably this sort of move is more for you. But yeah, I think there's definitely a consideration to or a conversation at least to have around Erling Haaland. But I think maybe for the game week 10 is probably not the time to get rid of him against Bournemouth away. Even though I do think Bournemouth will give him a tricky game. You know, they're not bad by any stretch of the imagination. I think maybe you're probably looking at next week, game week 11, as the time to get rid of Erling Haaland if you're going to do it. And finally, just quickly, I've done a little table here just to show my top 5 cheap strikers. All of these guys are under 6.5 million. So we've spoken about Wissa, we've spoken about Cunha. The other 3 that I did want to talk about, first up is Danny Welbeck. Now, for me, he has been exceptional this season. I've had him for the last sort of 5, 6 weeks, and he's been getting goals very frequently. Now, Brighton do come into a couple of tricky games over the next few weeks. They've got Liverpool, they've got Man City, so I am going to be selling him, probably for Johan Wissa as well for a couple of weeks, but best believe from game week 12, game week 13, he will be straight back in my team. Brighton they're not scoring goals at will, but when they're sort of winning 1, they're scoring 1, they're scoring 2. Usually Danny Welbeck is the one scoring the goals. Now, he did get taken off early in their game on the weekend against Wolves, but I think that was just because he had the back injury the week before. Obviously, he did get his goal before then. Maybe would have scored the goal that Evan Ferguson had if he'd stayed on the pitch. But yeah, for me, at the price you're paying for Danny Welbeck, I think he's just a fantastic option. I can't rave highly enough about him. Raul Jimenez is next up. Now, Fulham have got a mixed bag of fixtures, but he has been, over the last sort of 6 weeks, he's been in such good form. He is probably going to be on penalties for them now that Andreas missed his penalty a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, for me, Raul Jimenez, the cheapest out of the lot on this list. He is someone that I really like, and somebody that, despite the fixtures, I still think you can navigate him through. Maybe you have the option to bench him in the harder ones, but I think for the easier fixtures, he's somebody that is going to score goals. I think the only caveat with him is he's not really an explosive player, so it's kind of a 6 to 8, maybe 9 point ceiling with him. It's very rare that he gets a brace or he gets a goal and assist and then goes into the double digits. So yeah, but I think at the price you're paying, you know, if you've got someone who's consistently ticking over 6 to 9 points, I don't think you can really complain too much about it, to be honest with you. Now, the last pick on this list is Evan Nilsson, and I know a lot of you are probably going to be asking, where is Chris Wood? Where is he? You know, he's been in such good form. Chris Wood is one of those players for me, a little bit like Calvert-Lewin, where I think is maybe a little bit streaky. And I think now that he's in his good goal scoring run, but I don't know whether I see it lasting. You know, Forest's fixtures are about to change a little bit as well. They're going to get a little bit trickier, which is not to say that Chris Wood can't score in those games. But on this list personally, I want to have one real differential. And on this list is Evan Nilsson from Bournemouth. Now, did get a 96th minute equaliser for them on the weekend against Aston Villa. He's their main man and he's going to play up front for them. He's going to play 90 minutes. I think he is on penalties, even though he missed his last one. I do expect him to carry on taking them. So I wouldn't really be worried too much about that. But for me, I just want to have someone on this list who is very low owned. You know, as you can see, his percentage is so low owned. But somebody who's a differential, someone where maybe if you're looking to go a little bit rogue, looking for a little pick that, you know, could give you a high upside, I think Evan Nilsson is the one. Like I said, Chris Wood is a fantastic player, and you know, he's got 7 goals so far. You know, in 9 games, he's really, really having a fantastic season. But I do think he's a little bit like a Jamie Vardy, you know, where it's a little bit streaky. And that's another reason why he's not on this list either, is because I just think Forest, like I said, are going to come into a little bit more of a tricky run now, whereas Bournemouth and Evan Nilsson have got some good fixtures on the horizon. So yeah, for me, I just want to have one differential on this list of my top 5. Like I said, it's not ranked in any order. It's just to show you guys strikers under the 6.5 million bracket who, in my opinion, are the best options to be going for. Okay, thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below. I hope you guys like this sort of different style video. I'm going to upload it today, Sunday evening. I just wanted to try and get a little video out that shows, you know, in the next coming weeks, I think transfers are going to be really important about trying to get on trends, get on players before they hit form and before the mass start bringing them in. So I just hope that this video will show you guys, you know, teams over the next coming weeks who've got good fixtures and maybe ones who are to target. But also, like I said, there is the little controversy in there around Erling Haaland and do we get rid of him? But yeah, that's all for next week's topics in my transfer targets one. I'm gonna go over my changes that I'll be making to my team. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a thumbs up and subscribe down below, and I'll catch you guys next time.